This series of stretches targets the internal and external rotators of the hips. And particularly, we are going to be focusing on two pelvic floor muscles. So for this exercise, you'll need to position yourself in a door frame with a mat right next to the wall. To begin, you will place one foot on the door frame and the other leg through the door frame. Then, make sure that your bum is positioned closely to the wall. If you're too far back, you're not going to get an effective stretch. So you want to make sure that before you begin, you get yourself as close to the door as possible, scoot over, and then place your foot on the wall. After that, lift the other leg up, create a bridge, and then bend the leg and place it on the opposite knee as so. Then you'll push the right leg, the knee, you push that towards the wall, and then you'll try to bring your bum all the way down to the ground. Try and push your tailbone into the mat beneath you. Hold this stretch. Take a deep breath in as you inhale. Feel the pelvic floor muscles stretching and lengthening. Hold it. And then as you exhale, try and contract the pelvic floor muscles, feeling them shorten and tighten. Repeat that 5 times. Once you've completed the figure 4 stretch for the glute max muscle, you can take your leg off the other leg, bring it back down, and then reposition it. This time you're going to go back into that bridge. Now we're going to target the piriformis, so cross the leg right over. For my men, just make sure that you move any obstacles that might be in the way. Cross the legs over. And this one everybody tends to get confused with. You're going to take your left hand and bring it over top of the right leg. Then you have to do a little bit of a sit-up because you're going to go underneath the left leg. So that now your hand is coming through the other side and your right hand can grab your left hand, and now you're in a position where you can pull in nice and tight and hug your knees together. This, as I mentioned, stretches the piriformis muscle. The other trick to this stretch is that you'll want to bring your left elbow down towards your ribs. So instead of leaving your elbows out like this, you'll want to bring them in towards your ribs, and that increases the stretch of the piriformis muscle on the right leg. Then once you have a good comfortable stretch, you can push off the wall a little bit more from your toe, and that will help you increase that stretch. The other key component, as with previous exercise, is to bring the tailbone down to the ground. So you might find that your back is elevated when you're doing this off the mat. So just try and bring your back nice and flat down towards the floor, and you'll feel an increased stretch in that piriformis muscle. Once again, 5 pelvic floor muscle contractions with the breathing. Inhale, feel those muscles stretch and lengthen, and as you exhale, feel them recoil and tighten back inside. Once you've completed the piriformis stretch, you can now go into the obturator internus stretch, which is another pelvic floor muscle, and it's an external rotator of the hip. You can switch to the other side of your door frame to do this one, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to show it to you on this side. So this leg will come straight into the door frame here, but in order to position yourself appropriately, you will begin by keeping that leg bent, and you will bring the ankle of the left leg into the elbow of the right arm, lock it into place, and then with your left arm grab over top to seal that lock and grab hold of your foot. Once you're in this position, you can descend your head and try to stay flat on your back, and then as you become more flexible, you will straighten out that leg. There's no rush when trying to get into this stretch. Just do your best to hold that position. Once again, repeat those pelvic floor muscle contractions with your breathing. Inhale, big belly, and pelvic floor lengthens. Hold it, and as you exhale, feel everything recoil and tighten. If this is too difficult, you can roll to the side, and this might be easier for you to achieve the stretch initially, but then eventually you want to come back to the center, flat on the back. So that's the obturator internus, another pelvic floor muscle. All of those targeted external rotation, so it's important to target the internal rotation. There's two ways that you can do internal rotation. The easier of the two is to lie back and bring your heels as close to your glutes as possible, and then spread them out as wide as you comfortably can take them. Drop the left leg towards your midline. Once you've achieved that position, you should start to feel the stretch happening through the top of the hip and then into the joint. To increase that stretch, you're going to grab the opposite leg, cross it over, and then help drop that down to the ground. That will intensify the sensation you get just above the hip bone and in the hip joint. Once again, 5 pelvic floor muscle contractions with your deep breathing. Inhale, hold, and exhale. Contract everything. If you have knee issues, you might need to keep the foot out a little bit further so you're not putting as much strain on that knee. You'll have to decide what's comfortable for you. And then naturally you would switch to the other side and do the same thing. Now, if you are able to, I prefer this stretch, but it's not always easy for everyone to get into. So same kind of situation is you're going to cross the leg over, and the tricky part of this one is bringing the foot behind the ankle. That's where most people struggle. If you can get this pretzel position, then at this point now you just need to drop the leg towards the ground, and then when you're comfortable, you lie back. Nice and easy, and you can raise your arms over your head. Here you're going to feel a much deeper stretch right into the joint itself, and you'll just want to hold that position, taking those 5 deep breaths in and out, working the pelvic floor while you're holding this stretch. Internal rotation is a stretch that we very, very seldom do, so I highly encourage you to perhaps do this in the middle of the 3 external rotation stretches that we just demonstrated. Don't forget to perform the internal stretch on both sides, coming out of that internal stretch very slowly. And those should be done every day until you've restored some flexibility, at which point you can then drop down to 3 times a week.